So, obviously winning the game was great. That was great and fun. Today was also fun in terms of what was
Yes, it
happening on the
was.
transfer portal. So
Yes,
we
sir.
talked about, last week, and, I did my own as well about how it was kind of a slow start in the transfer portal for Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't, they didn't seem to be keeping up with it like some other teams in the college football playoff were. Well, today they kept up with it. They got 3 really good commits today. They were able to get C.J. Donaldson Jr., running back from West Virginia, who started for the last 2 years for them, has 11
Mm-hmm.
rushing touchdowns in each of the last 2 years. He's coming to town. And they also were able to get a defensive end from Idaho State, Logan George. He had 5.5 sacks this year. He's only a sophomore, so he's got some room to grow. And then the big one, happened just a few hours ago. Tight end Max Clare from Purdue, the number 1 transfer portal tight end, had 685 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, 51 catches this year for the Boilermakers.
There was a fan base that thought they were going to get him. There was a fan base that thought they were going to get him.
Yes, there was.
I can't. It's missing. It's missing right now. I
know.
I can't remember who, but crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, but it is crazy. All of those guys fill positions of need. So,
Yes.
One by one, give me your first initial reaction to those guys. So start with CJ. What are your thoughts on Donaldson?
Well, me and you, we've talked a lot about the running back room, the depth going to next year, how it's lacking. But what I really like about him, first off, he's now some guy who hasn't had production. That guy he has a lot of production. He played a lot this year and was pretty good. The guy's 6'2", 240 pounds. Well, I think he was a prior tight end as a recruit, I believe.
Yeah, so, he's a big dude.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that especially for Ohio State's running back room, we have a lot of, they're quick, strong guys, but, like your average running back. I think it's really good that we have a guy like him because you're going to need a guy like him. You need a really big running back. Man, this name it's missing me right now. Who was the running back? This would have been during, I think Carlos Hyde. His brother was a linebacker for Notre Dame.
Oh, Rod Smith?
Rod Smith. That's who he reminds me of.
I hope he's way better than Rod Smith because I got a checker pass with Rod Smith and his fumbling problems. I don't want to bring him up.
I get that, but I mean just size-wise.
Sure. Yeah, Rod was big.
Yeah, he was a very big guy. And so I think that's really cool. We haven't had big backs we haven't, not really since Beanie Wells and Rod, let's just take away Rod. Not since Beanie Wells, we haven't had a big back. We haven't.
Yeah, and it's CJ, and you're right. With the Ohio State running back depth, this was a need. Mm-hmm. Especially if Quinshawn decides to go to the draft, which, we don't know what his decision-making is going to be. He probably won't announce that until after the season is fully done anyway. Mm-hmm. But to get someone who has proven production, as you mentioned, and not just proven production, but proven production at a P4 program, in the Big 12. So it's good to have someone out there that they can lean on while James Peoples continues to get some carries. They get Sam Williams-Dixon back there as well. But again, he hasn't done a whole lot. They were only going to have 3 scholarship running backs. So we knew they were going to have to get someone in the portal. And I think Donaldson's a really good guy that they can get who, since he's that bigger guy, he can be a goal line threat. He can be a 3rd and short threat, which Ohio State, years past. This year, they've done a better job of converting on 3rd and short, 4th and short scenarios. But having a guy like him also really helps that. So I think he's a really solid guy to bring in, and I'm glad they were able to land him. Now,
734 yards, 11 touchdowns, 4.5 a carry.
Yep.
Yeah, you can work with that.
You definitely can work with that. I don't know how much you know about Logan George, the kid from Idaho State. He's moving up a level. His production, wasn't great as a freshman. Sophomore got a little bit better, 5.5 sacks. To me, he's more of a depth piece, rotational guy because, we talked about how the recruiting classes really haven't been all that strong up front. They've been lacking just straight up numbers. They don't have enough guys back there. So I think this is a good kind of stopgap piece. I don't think he's going to play a ton, but he's a guy who they can bring in for injuries. They can bring him along in some of those early season games that aren't Texas next year. Those non-conference matchups that aren't super great, teams that they're playing, so he can get some experience. I think it's a solid get. I'm not jumping out of my chair for him like I am for Donaldson, but what do you think?
So when I saw that he had committed, it wasn't a lot, nothing, no news on like On Three's not talking about, no one's talking about it. But I went on ESPN, looked at what he did. Didn't look at any of his highlights or anything. But this is the only thought I had on it. There's a reason they offered him. They saw something in him, in his tape from his sophomore season, that was worth giving him a scholarship. He's not walking on. So I mean, it's
he's a decently sized dude too. He's 6'5", 259, and you can play inside and outside. I mean, they'll probably use him a little bit more.
50 plus tackles. I mean, I think 20. Yeah, if I remember, he had 24 solo,
53 tackles. Yep, 5.5 sacks. It's a decent pickup.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Like, we'll see when we see him. But they offered him for some reason.
Yeah,
and I'll stand behind it.
Yeah, and I know you're really excited about Claire. Max Claire, #1 tight end in the transfer portal, coming out of Purdue. So Ohio State got to see him up close and personal. And he's a big guy who can run too. He's 6'4", 240. He's got really good hands. He averaged 13.4 yards a catch this season for the Boilermakers. And it's not like Purdue's offense was, scoring 25 points a game or anything like that. He was in a rough situation. Purdue was by far the worst team in the Big Ten. And he was their best offensive player, I think. He was their best weapon. So to add a guy like him to a tight end room that doesn't really have a whole lot of depth, I think is big. And maybe it's a sign that they're actually going to use the tight end a little bit more, because we've talked about in the past with Ryan Day's offense how it's not a focal point of their passing attack. So if you get a guy like Claire coming in, who, he'll be a junior, so he's got, we'll see if he plays well enough next year, he's probably gone to the league, but we might get 2 years out of him. And and he's not just a good receiver too. He can block a little bit too. Yeah. So, I think he's a great pickup, and, pickup not a lot of people expected when the portal opened for Ohio State to grab. Yeah.
When he got into the portal, some Ohio State fans were like, yeah, we would love to have him. But I didn't think there was any chance we were going to get him. I truly didn't. If I'm being completely honest here, I thought he was going to Ann Arbor. Because it would make sense, or somewhere or Pitt State, somewhere that makes sense.
Well, they're too broke now. They're going to pay Underwood, gazillion.
Yeah, bro. They paid a king's ransom, bro. They're broke. Yeah. They're broke as hell now. But he's light on his feet. He can make guys miss at his size, which is really cool. I'm not going to say that he's as good as Colston Loveland, but that's who he reminds me of. He's the guy that can make guys miss. And he's light on his feet, really good at route running. Like you said, he can block. And just thinking about next year, I'm of the mindset that next year, if Ryan Day can with Julian Sand, he's going to revert a little bit more back to how he used to, his seasons with CJ Stroud, if he's able to do so. Because, dude, if you're telling me that there's no way you can tell me that Ryan Day has Julian Sand, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, Brandon Ennis, Mylan Graham, and Max Claire, and he ain't gonna throw that ball.
Yeah. Oh, I will say this: that one throw Sand had on Saturday was not great. That was a dirter. He missed him 5 yards short. It was ugly. That was ugly.
Yeah, that throw looked like a guy who's been singing in the cold all day and had to go throw the. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
That's what.
No, but your point's well taken. Next year, whoever the quarterback's gonna be, whether it's Sand, Tavian St. Clair, whoever, Claire's a good guy to get because a brand new quarterback coming in with no starting experience, tight end's a security blanket. And to have a guy like this come in with proven production, that's going to be huge for a guy that is going to be a first-time starter, no matter who it is. So it's a great pickup and one, again, and like you mentioned, it's good to have him not go up to Ann Arbor, keep them away from there, keep them away from the other Big Ten schools.
I don't know why they're upset that they're broke, Brian. Like, yeah, y'all broke.
Hey, broke. If you want them to not be broke, donate. You can donate their NIL funds. So obviously those portal commits were great today.